Good afternoon and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Sunday. It is the end of the race week at Santa Anita. It is March 30th. And Santa Anita has a decent latter half of the card. I do like the pick five, the late pick five. I do have a single that I like that I'm going to hinge that ticket on. So I felt like it was worth making that play today. I'm going to skip over the first couple races of the day over at Santa Anita and going to go with the pick five, which does start in the sixth race. Sixth race has an approximate post time of 3:30 Pacific, so 5:30 here in the Central Time Zone. And let's get started here at Santa Anita. I forgot to note, if you're going to be playing that Rainbow Pick 6 pool over at Gulfstream, good luck with that. I know it's a mandatory payoff, and they do expect a big pool there. Well, let's get started at Santa Anita. So the sixth race is a maiden special weight race. This is 6.5 on the grass, and it's on the flat grass course. And these are 3-year-olds, so nice collection of horses. Some nice purchase prices. Maybe some future nice horses to look after here. So I felt it was pretty open. I think that, we might have a shot at maybe a price here. I'm going to put 5 horses in. I'm going to put the 3 who is Redial, Peter Urton. Peter Urton's very, very good in the second start, more so than his first start. This horse did have a start, kind of ran an even race, got off a little slow and, ran on and showed a little bit of ability, that he could run. So I feel like the second start usually is better for the Urton barn. Horse is a long shot today, 12-1. Ayuso takes the call today. We'll put this horse in there. That would be the 3, Redial. I'm going to put the 4, who is Helicity, for Tim Yachtine. This horse, went to the Yachtine barn this year. This horse had been running, out in the East Coast. And Yachtine got the horse last time. Horse ran back in late February. And, just kind of ran an even race, fought for the lead a little bit there. And, maybe a live race. That was a race that was won by Muscled, who Muscled was very ready to go that day. So the 4 Helicity does shorten up to 6.5 furlongs, coming off a mile race. So that should, have him tuned up here. Freysu takes the call. We'll put the 4 in there. Going to put the 5 horse, who is 32 Chunk from Mark Glatt. This is a first starter. Kimura takes the call. Kimura always is nice to have on a turf horse. Glatt does pretty well with his first starters. This horse is certainly bred for the turf, being by More Than Ready, out of an Into Mischief mare. And Into Mischief just seemed to do everything. But yeah, More Than Ready was always a very capable turf sire. So we'll put 32 Chunk here. Works are pretty good. We'll see if this horse can get it going first time out. Going to put the 6, who is Charlie Foxtrot, also from Mark Glatt. Mike Smith takes the call. Mike Smith, I think he was out in Florida yesterday in the Florida Derby. So Smith takes the call here. He rode the horse last time it was on the dirt. And, he ended up running in a fast race won by Tis Secure. I know that was a Baffert horse. Also, the second horse ended up coming back to win, too. The third horse, King Stephen, who we'll talk about momentarily, also comes out of that race. But Charlie Foxtrot ran a nice, even race. Maybe the switch to turf, could do it here. So we'll put the 6, Charlie Foxtrot. Also put the 7, King Stephen, who I mentioned, he does come out of that same race as the Tis Secure race. And this horse just really walked out of the gate. The apprentice was on him that day. Walked out of the gate. I give the apprentice credit. He didn't panic. He just kind of let the horse, lope along back there and ended up making a run late, ended up coming third that day. So Hector Barrios takes the call. Barrios has done well for the Sheriff's Barn. 7-2, so we'll put King Stephen in there. And then finally we'll put the 8, who is Going Viral, for Richard Mandela. This is a big purchase here, $400,000 purchase. This horse has run a couple times on the grass. Just kind of even races. Last time the horse did run at a 6-furlong grass race on the flat, and just kind of ran an even race. 8-1, Rispoli on the horse. Now Rispoli, really hurt me yesterday in his terrible ride in the last race of the day at Santa Anita. So I'm hoping he took a lot of criticism there and figures it out today. Maybe makes up for it with some wins. He's got some horses that could do it today. So we'll put Going Viral in there. So we'll start out the pick 5 with the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, now let's go on to the next race of the day. Next race being the 7th race. This is a $16,000 claimer, 3-year-olds and up, and it's 5.5 on the dirt. Not going to talk a lot about this. This race really seems to be void of talents. I'm just trying to, get a couple horses here and survive and advance here. Since it is tournament time, it's all about surviving advancing, right? So we'll put the 2 horse, who is Pratchett from Mike Pipey. Ayuso takes the call. He's the program favorite, 8-5. Certainly, does seem to merit that. Has run with better. The drop into 16 here should, make this horse faster and fast enough for this. So we'll put him in there. Then also going to put the 7 horse with Spiritus for Jerry Wallace. Carmona, the apprentice, takes the call here. So this horse has been running on this level and just kind of shows up with even races, decent efforts. Might be, kind of a situation where, the horse just kind of gets a good ride or gets a good position, could finish up the race here. We'll see if the weight break makes a difference. So we'll put Spiritist in at 6-1. And finally, I'm going to put the 8 horse, who is Bucker 2. Richard Dutrow, Maldonado takes the call. Now, this horse is definitely run with better, out east, but really running more so on the turf there. So, they're just trying to figure out probably a spot where this horse could win. So 5-2 here. We'll put Bucker 2 in there. So we've got the 2, 7, and 8. All right, now let's move over to the 8th race. 8th race is the feature race. 6.5 down the hill on the grass. Beautiful as always. This is the Sensational Star, which is a California bred stake race, and definitely some nice horses here and nice collection of horses. I do have a single here. I'm going to single the 1 who is Kings River Knight for John Sadler, Juan Hernandez. This horse comes off a long winning streak, having won his last 5 and having won 7 out of his last 8. So this horse certainly has gotten it done at all distances, different surfaces, does like the hill, has run twice down the hill, having a win back at last fall in the California Flag, which is always a nice California stakes race, and then running in the Sensational Star back in 2023 and losing by a nose. So lost to Chosen Vron, which certainly no shame in that. But this horse has been off for a while. We haven't seen this horse in about 11 months or so. So something is went amiss. But also when you've got a nice stakes horse like this and he's a gelding, I'm sure the Sadler barn has just has to take their time and do right by the horse and let him take his time and let them know when he's ready to go. And it would just seem like today he's 2-1 in the program. Again, Hernandez takes the call. Hernandez has been on him for that long race win streak, and he knows this horse. So I'm gonna I've preached before that I like horses off the layoff going into turf sprints, so whether it's 5 furlongs, whether it's 6.5 down the hill, a good trainer can get it done. So I feel like Kings River Knight should get it done here in this race, on the comeback here in the Sensational Star. So we'll single Kings River Knight at 2-1. All right, now let's go down to the next race. The next race being the 9th race. This is a Northern California style race. This is, a starter allowance race with horses that have been based in Northern California. 6 furlongs on the dirt. And the starter conditions are if you've started for 5,000 or less in 24-25, or you could put your horse in for a 62.50 claimer. A horse got scratched out of this race that I did like as a long shot. That was Quality Cat, so he's not running here. But I do have 2 horses here that I feel one of these 2 will get it done and advance the ticket. I'm going to put the 4 horse, who is Big Don Smiling for Bill McLean, and Kimura takes the call. And I really feel like the jockey switch is going to make a big difference on this horse. The last 2 times this horse ran at Santa Anita was coming off a good layoff, and Bill McLean had the apprentice Americano on the horse. Americano has won races, but I really don't think he'd ridden well in his time here at Santa Anita this past winter meet here. So I like the switch over to Kimura, always a good thing. This horse ran up against Major Tom. We're going to talk about Major Tom momentarily. He's also in this race. In his comeback race back in February, the horse just, didn't get out of the gate at all and just ended up running kind of an even race. We'll throw that one out. That was in this same type of level here. Next time out, Americano did get the horse out, was running, very close up, and ended up getting beat a nose by Major Tom. So, he ran a lot better there. So again, I feel like the jock switch to Kimura certainly, is a good factor here. McLean, we've talked about him. His horses have run better lately, so maybe he's, figuring out where to place them in a better way and, kind of get the barn going. So we'll put Big Don Smiling at 6-1. And then I'm going to put the 6, who is Major Tom. Major Tom, 2-race win streak here at Santa Anita in this level, so this horse certainly likes the track. Kevin Harasco takes the call. He's ridden this horse in the last 2 wins. The horse has done, a lot right at this level. He's shown a professionalism, run a nice race, both times. Just barely beat Big Don Smiling, but we're going to put them both in there. This horse, Major Tom, seems to be in pretty good shape, so, no reason to go against him. He's, your 9-year-old gelding. I'm sorry, no, 5-year-old gelding, and, horse that seems to be running very well at this level. So, you kind of root for these kind of horses and, see if they can keep them together, keep them going. So we've got the 4 and the 6 here in the 9th race. All right, let's go to the last race of the day, being the 10th race. 10th race is the first level allowance race. It's a mile and a quarter on the grass. And these are fillies and mares, 4 and up. And, I like the fact that they put this as the last race. It could make for, chaos, could make for a nice payoff. And, I do feel it's a very open race. There's some horses coming off a long layoff. And, I don't know, for as much as I like horses coming off a layoff in short sprints, at a mile and a quarter, I don't know, about that. So I feel like there's several of them that are fitting that profile. I'm going to put several horses in here, hoping that, we hit that single of Kings River Night, hopefully some prices, and then we'll have 6 horses here to pay us off in this pick 5. So I'm going to put the 1 horse who is Kentucky Gal, Phil D'Amato. This horse has had 2 starts here stateside, after coming from Ireland back last summer. It's just kind of a couple even races. His last race, I'm going to throw that race out. Hector Barrios really didn't give the horse too good of a ride. The horse was wide around the whole track and just kind of gave it up. Ended up running with Prancing Through Paris, who Prancing Through Paris ran a big race that day, and she came back to win a stakes race. So she's a nice horse. Certainly no shame in running up against Prancing Through Paris. Even though the horse finished, towards the back of the field, I just feel like this horse is better than what that effort was there. So she's 5-1. Flavian Pratt on her, certainly an improvement there. We'll put Kentucky Gal. Going to put the 5 horse being Mizzy Ann, Michael McCarthy barn, Umberto Rispoli. This horse is certainly, very well bred by Justify out of the mare Valdori. Valdori was a Bob Baffert runner back, a few years back, and it was a homebred for the owners. I know he raced Valdori, and she was a nice horse. So this is her offspring here. She's run some nice races. Rispoli's on the horse here. This horse has been a bit of a layoff. We haven't seen her since opening day at Santa Anita. So we'll see if, Mizzy Ann is the type of horse where she comes with a late kick. So we'll see if that late kick's going to be effective at a mile and a quarter. 8-1. I expect Rispoli to ride much better today, given the fact that he screwed up that last race yesterday pretty badly. So we'll put Mizzy Ann in there. I'm going to put the 6 horse who is strutting, also for Michael McCarthy. Ricardo Gonzalez on the horse here. Now, I really liked this horse last time out. I know I'd given her out and made a win bet, and she just she ran a nice race. Gonzalez gave her a nice ride, maybe moved a little soon, but I'm not sure he had a choice. Ended up getting beat by Lady Claypool, so certainly, as I mentioned, no shame in that. Lady Claypool is on a couple race win streak, including a graded stake. So, strutting certainly has a good shot here. She came out of that Grade 1 American Oaks, which she feels pretty. I thought she ran a nice race that day, and that's why I liked her back in January after that. So strutting 7-2 here, so we'll put her in there. Going to also put the 7 who is Public Assembly for Phil D'Amato. Now, D'Amato has a couple in here, just like McCarthy does. Freysu has the call here. This horse is 5-1. This horse comes off a pretty good layoff here, about 8-month layoff. So again, I'm not sure. We'll see if D'Amato has this horse ready to go a mile and a quarter off this layoff. This horse was originally with Chad Brown. She had run some nice races. Broke her maiden in a long race at Kentucky Downs, so distance shouldn't be a problem. We'll trust in Phil D'Amato that he might have her ready at 5-1. That being the 7 Public Assembly. I'm going to put the 9 horse. 9 horse, this is a long shot here, Cheekiest. Mike Pipey. And Pipey's barn has been doing well. I know she's moving up here. Kimura takes the call, but this horse is in shape, having, won a couple races. So I'm putting this horse in for the sole fact that maybe some of these layoff horses aren't ready to go a mile and a quarter. And, you might see Cheekiest storming home. So going to put her in here. If tickets live, certainly wouldn't mind seeing a 30-1 hit the board there and, get the win here. So we'll put Cheekiest in. And then I will put the 10, who is Paradise Lake. She's the favorite at 5-2. Peter Urton, trainer here. Horse also comes out of the Lady Claypool strutting race. She ran a nice race that day as well. Was, right near the wire there in kind of a blanket finish. Juan Hernandez takes the call today. We haven't seen her since that Lady Claypool race, but, the horse has worked out well. And, Urton's barn's going well. So we've got the 1, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the tickets. Okay, so for Sunday, March 30th, we have a late pick 5 ticket, which does start in the 6th race. And in the 6th race, I'm going wide there. I'm going to go with the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With the 2, 7, 8. With the single of the 1. With the 4, 6. With the 1, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Now today, that pick 5 ticket does cost $108. And, I'm seeing fit to do it because I do feel strongly about Kings River Night today and, getting the job done in the Sensational Star. If you see fit, you can play as is. If you want to add or subtract, If you want to play the pick threes within it, play the late daily double within it, or even that late pick three, which should be nice, does include Kings River Night. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing, and let's wish ourselves some great trips, which will result in good luck and good results, hopefully. So again, I really appreciate you watching Fast Horses today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. It doesn't cost you anything. It just puts you on the feed. You can like, dislike, make comments. I promise to respond to everything. And again, thanks to those who have hit the subscribe button. I do appreciate that. So let's finish this week up strong at Santa Anita, the great race place. Let's get this pick 5 home. Good luck to you today, and we'll see you back for more Fast Horses today next week. Thank you.